This is Jay Mancini. Welcome to the channel where we keep the wheels rolling and the cash flowing. All right, guys, so I've been reading the emails and I've had several questions regarding government contracts. So guys, one thing that I want to tell you is this video is not only for you guys that were asking about government contracts, but also it's for everyone else who's interested in knowing how you could potentially have a seven-figure business through government contracts. Now, I can't tell you this, guys. Government contracts has helped me get to that position to seven figures. So for those that are interested in knowing about government contracts and how to get to seven figures, this video's for you. So let's dive in. All right, guys, government contracts, understanding the process that can lead to seven figures. So today I'm going to break down the process of how government contracts work and how they can potentially lead your dump truck business to eventually making seven figures. All right, guys, one thing that you need to know about government contracts is government contracts are going to come from what's called the public sector. Now, there's also what's called a private sector. So I'm going to tell you real briefly what a private sector is so you can understand the private and the public sector. So private sector, guys, what that means is that it's coming from private entities. And just to give you an idea of what I mean by the private sector, private entities, this could be a developer or a large corporation that could, for example, be building a large high-rise or a mid-rise, a shopping center, a grocery store. This is going to be what we call the private sector of the construction industry. Now, going back to what we're talking about today, which is the public sector. Public sector basically means this is coming from a government entity, right? Government entity meaning city, in my case, city of Houston, the county, in my case, Harris County, right? So it would be your county, be your city, or it would be the state that you're in. So in my case, it's the state of Texas. So it would be Texas Department of Transportation or TxDOT. So same thing for you. If you're in Arizona, it would be Arizona DOT, right? So that is what we call the public sector, right? So these jobs are being essentially jobs that are being given by either the city, the state, or the county. And guys, what I'm referring to as far as these public jobs or public sector, they're construction projects that relate to maintenance and repairs, the city sewer system, the drainage facilities. These are streets, roads, bridges, and anything that pertains to the city, right? So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example of a city project. So in this case, I live in the city of Houston. Let's just say here in Houston, there's going to be a major road that's going to be reconstructed. And now I'm going to break down how this not only affects you and your business and the dump truck business, but how you can also eventually generate seven figures from knowing this information. All right, guys. So the first step to this is you're going to have the city. So the city is going to be right here, right? This is the city of Houston, right? I'm going to put an H for city of Houston. So they're going to be the ones who are going to be going out and soliciting the project to do this new road. What do I mean by soliciting? So there's general contractors, which are these guys right here. These are the general contractors, right? So now the general contractors, they're going to go to the city of Houston's website, okay? And they're going to go on there and look for these types of jobs because that's naturally what they do, right? They want to go out and they want to bid on the public sector, and that's city of Houston. So now they see this road, let's just call it Main Street, right? So Main Street now is 5 or 10 miles long. They're going to reconstruct the whole road. So what happens here is the general contractors bid on that job. Now, you got to keep in mind, there's multiple general contractors that are going to bid on that job with the city of Houston. Now, the second step that happens is the contractors here, the GCs, right? They're going to utilize what's called a subcontractor, which is you in this case, okay? How are you the subcontractor? Well, you're naturally considered a dump truck company or a dump truck business. Well, what happens is whenever they rebuild this road and they start to do what I call the demo, right? Demolition. So they got to remove all the asphalt, all the base material. If it's concrete, they got to remove the concrete, right? All these materials that come out, it could be dirt, it could be sand, it could be gravel, it could be concrete, it could be asphalt, right? Whatever the road's made out of, all of that has to get demoed and removed. So what does that mean? They have to hire the subcontractor. And who's the subcontractor once again? You, the dump truck company. Now, they're going to have multiple other subcontractors on this job as well. But in this case, we're talking about you, right? The dump truck company. So how does this benefit you? Well, naturally, they're going to hire you. But before they hire you, what do they need from you? They need a price to be able to bid on the job with the city of Houston. So here's the key, right? Because they're going to call you, the GC, and say, hey, Mr. Johnny Trucking, we need a quote, whether it's by the hour or by the load, to remove all this material that is going to get demoed from Main Street or Main Road, right? And so that's when you give them a price. Now, once you give them a price and they agree to that price, then what they do is they gather your price from the dump truck company and they add it to whatever other things that they may require to be able to get this job, right? So remember, there's multiple subcontractors. You're not the only one. So they get all these quotes from all these subcontractors. They put it together, and let's just call it in a big package, right? And then they turn in the bid to the city of Houston. Now, we're going to assume that your general contractor that called you gets the job. So let's say they're the low bidder. They get awarded the job. City of Houston calls them and says, hey, Mr. General Contractor, you've been awarded the job for Main Street. So guess what happens now? The general contractor calls you up and says, hey, Mr. Johnny Trucking, remember that quote that you gave me to remove all that material? Well, guess what? We got awarded the job for Main Road through the city of Houston. So here we go. Now you will officially have a part of a contract with the city of Houston, right? That's how the process works. Now, one thing that I want you to keep in mind, right? One of the great things about working in the public sector, whether it's the city of Houston or whether it's the county or whether it's the state that you live in, public sector work is great because these are government contracts. And the one thing I can assure you is that you're going to get paid. And more than likely, guys, not only will you get paid, these are jobs that usually last a considerable amount of time. Of course, it depends on the size of the job. But more than likely, this is going to be a pretty good job where you're going to have work for quite some time. So what do I mean by all this? Not only did I break down the process for you, but what I'm trying to tell you is that these are the jobs that eventually not only lead you to have work for a lengthy amount of time, but just imagine that you get a hold of all these general contractors that bid on these kind of jobs, right, in the public sector, and now you start to create connections with them. Well, what does that mean for you? That just means that now you have multiple avenues. In other words, you have multiple doors that can open and now give you the chance and the possibility of doing this, going to 7 figures. So, guys, that's how that process works. One thing that I also want you to keep in mind, guys, is not only on jobs like this will you be removing materials and doing demo, but you're also going to more than likely be bringing in materials. So whatever materials get removed from this job will also need to be replaced with new materials. So you might have hauled out asphalt millings. Let's just say it's asphalt you're milling, okay? And they're gonna mill 5 or 6 miles and they remove that and they remove the base or whatever stabilized materials underneath the millings, right? Now, whenever it's time to replace it, guess what? You're gonna be that trucking company that will also bring in the new materials. So once again, I'm just going full circle here so you can understand that this is how you stay busy because you're always doing something at these types of jobs, whether they're needing just 1 or 2 trucks or whether they're needing multiple trucks. These are the kind of jobs that eventually can lead your business to 7 figures. And again, just keep in mind, I know that you may be that person that says, Jay, I haven't even got started, or Jay, I only have 1 dump truck. We're talking about 7 figures here, right? So if you're that person, okay, you got a visual of eventually having a 7-figure dump truck business, then you already know this is how it works. And these are the things that you need to know and the process that you need to understand to stretch your vision, keep you thinking big so that eventually you can have a 7-figure business. Now, with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. You already know, DM, drop a comment below, like and subscribe. This is Jay Mancini, and you know what we do here. We keep the wheels rolling and the cash flowing, and we'll see you on the next one.